When Dominic Reyes announced he was hiring a new personal bodyguard, none of his men expected the candidate standing before them during her first official briefing. Sasha Cain stood quietly at the edge of the room. Dressed simply in dark, practical clothing, her expression calm and unreadable as several of Dominic's longtime security team exchanged skeptical, barely concealed smirks. "This is a joke, right?" Rico, one of Dominic's senior bodyguards, muttered just loud enough for several nearby colleagues to hear, clear amusement evident in his dismissive tone. "No offense, but she doesn't exactly look like she could handle real trouble." A few quiet chuckles rippled through the assembled security team, though Sasha's expression remained entirely unbothered. Her posture calm and composed, despite the obvious disrespect surrounding her. Dominic, standing at the front of the room, studied his team's reaction carefully, his own expression giving away nothing regarding his private thoughts on the matter. "Sasha comes with an exceptional record," Dominic said evenly, his tone carrying quiet authority that immediately quieted the room's lingering skepticism, at least outwardly. "Former military combat medic, extensive protection training, and recommendations I don't take lightly. She'll be joining my personal detail starting today." Rico exchanged another skeptical glance with a colleague nearby, though he wisely kept further comments to himself, given Dominic's evident seriousness regarding the decision. Sasha, for her part, simply nodded professionally, betraying no reaction whatsoever to the obvious doubt surrounding her new position. Her first official shift began that same afternoon, accompanying Dominic to a business meeting at a neutral downtown location, a routine assignment that Rico and several others clearly expected would reveal her supposed inadequacy almost immediately. Sasha moved through her responsibilities with quiet, methodical precision, scanning the surrounding environment constantly, positioning herself strategically near Dominic without ever appearing overly conspicuous. The meeting proceeded smoothly at first, careful negotiations unfolding between Dominic and his business associates within a private conference room. Sasha remained stationed just outside the door, her attention sharp despite the outwardly calm atmosphere. It was during this seemingly routine moment that everything changed entirely. A maintenance worker, seemingly innocuous and entirely unremarkable, approached the conference room carrying a tool bag, claiming routine building maintenance required brief access. Rico, stationed nearby, waved him through with barely a second glance, clearly unconcerned by such a mundane interruption. Sasha, however, noticed something the others had missed entirely. The maintenance worker's posture carried subtle tension inconsistent with routine work, his eyes scanning the room with calculated precision rather than casual disinterest. And his tool bag, upon closer observation, sat considerably heavier than typical maintenance equipment would require. Without hesitation, Sasha moved swiftly, intercepting the man just as he reached toward his bag, her trained instincts recognizing the danger seconds before anyone else in the room properly registered the threat. She disarmed him with practiced, efficient precision, revealing a concealed weapon he had been attempting to access, security footage later confirming he had been planted specifically to eliminate Dominic. During the seemingly routine meeting, the room erupted into sudden chaos as Dominic's other security personnel rushed to properly secure the now subdued attacker. Though the crisis had already been entirely neutralized by Sasha's swift, decisive action before anyone else had even fully understood the danger unfolding, Rico stood frozen, disbelief evident clearly across his previously smug expression as he processed exactly what had just occurred. Dominic emerged from the conference room moments later, alerted by the commotion, his expression shifting rapidly from concern into stunned realization as he took in the scene. Sasha calmly restraining the would-be assassin while his other, considerably more experienced security team members stood visibly shaken by how close the danger had actually come. "What happened?" Dominic demanded, though his sharp eyes had already begun piecing together the situation from Sasha's controlled, Professional composure. Attempted assassination, sir, Sasha reported evenly. Her tone carrying none of the adrenaline, clearly still coursing through the rest of the room. Neutralized before he could reach the weapon in his bag. Dominic studied her closely, genuine astonishment evident clearly beneath his usually composed exterior. You noticed something the rest of my team missed entirely, he observed carefully, his gaze shifting pointedly toward Rico, whose earlier smug confidence had entirely evaporated. His posture and the weight distribution of his bag, Sasha explained simply. Professional precision evident clearly in her measured tone. Training teaches you to notice inconsistencies most people overlook. Dominic nodded slowly, genuine respect replacing his earlier neutral assessment of his newest hire. As his security team quickly cleared the building and secured the area properly, several members who had earlier dismissed Sasha with quiet laughter now found themselves studying her with entirely different expressions. Respect and no small amount of chastened embarrassment evident clearly across their previously skeptical faces. Rico approached her cautiously once the immediate chaos had settled, clear discomfort evident in his hesitant posture. I owe you an apology, he admitted quietly, genuine humility entering his tone for the first time since her arrival. That was considerably more impressive than I expected. Sasha studied him evenly, no trace of resentment evident in her calm expression. Just doing my job, she replied simply, though something in her measured tone suggested she had faced this exact pattern of doubt and vindication considerably more times than anyone in the room could properly imagine. In the days following the attempted assassination, Dominic found himself studying Sasha with considerably more attention than he had initially anticipated, devoting to any member of his security team. Her calm, methodical competence during the crisis had impressed him deeply, though something beyond simple professional respect had begun stirring within him as he observed her quiet, disciplined presence throughout his daily routine. You've barely reacted to what happened, Dominic observed one afternoon, watching Sasha calmly review security protocols in his office, her composure entirely unshaken despite the dramatic events of just days earlier. Most people would still be processing something that intense. Sasha glanced up, her expression carefully measured. I've trained extensively for exactly that kind of scenario, she replied simply. Staying calm under pressure is the entire point of proper training. Dominic studied her closely, genuine curiosity evident clearly in his composed expression. May I ask what led you toward this particular career path? He asked carefully. Combat medic, then protection specialist. That's not exactly a common trajectory. Sasha considered his question thoughtfully before answering with measured honesty. I served in the military for 6 years, she explained. Combat medic, deployed twice overseas. After my discharge, I found myself drawn toward protection work. It felt like a natural continuation of what I'd already dedicated my life toward. Keeping people safe. Dominic nodded, respecting the careful boundaries evident in her measured explanation, though he sensed clearly there was considerably more beneath her guarded response. Your discharge, he said carefully, was that by choice? Sasha's expression shifted subtly, old tension flickering briefly across her otherwise composed features. It's complicated, she admitted honestly, though her tone made clear she wasn't yet ready to elaborate further. Dominic, recognizing her evident reluctance, chose not to press the matter further. I understand, he said gently. Whenever you're comfortable sharing more, I'm willing to listen. Over the following weeks, Sasha continued proving herself invaluable within Dominic's security detail, her sharp instincts and calm precision earning increasing respect from even the most skeptical members of his team. Rico, once openly dismissive of her presence, had become genuinely appreciative of her expertise, occasionally seeking her guidance on updated protection techniques he hadn't previously considered. Dominic found himself increasingly drawn toward moments of genuine conversation with Sasha, their professional interactions gradually deepening into something considerably more personal during quiet moments between his demanding business obligations. He noticed her sharp intelligence, her dry, understated humor that occasionally slipped through her professional composure, and the quiet strength she carried despite whatever painful history continued shaping her guarded demeanor. One evening, following a particularly long day of business meetings, Dominic found Sasha reviewing security footage alone in his estate's monitoring room, her expression thoughtful and slightly weary. "You've been working considerably long hours," he observed, settling into the chair beside her. "Even by protection specialist standards." Sasha offered a small, tired smile. "Thoroughness matters," she replied simply, though genuine exhaustion was evident clearly beneath her measured tone. "It matters," Dominic agreed, "but so does rest. I'd prefer my protection detail remain sharp rather than running themselves into exhaustion." Sasha studied him closely, something warming slightly within her usually guarded expression. "I appreciate the concern," she said honestly, "though I'll admit it's not something I'm particularly accustomed to receiving from an employer." Dominic considered her words carefully, genuine curiosity evident clearly in his thoughtful gaze. "Has your work history generally lacked that kind of consideration?" he asked gently. Sasha hesitated, though something in Dominic's patient, genuine curiosity made her consider, for the first time since accepting this position, that perhaps sharing more of her difficult history might finally feel possible. "After my military discharge," she admitted slowly, "I struggled considerably to find protection work. Most private security firms weren't interested in hiring a woman for high-risk assignments, regardless of my qualifications and experience." Dominic's expression hardened slightly at this revelation, quiet anger evident clearly beneath his composed exterior. "That's remarkably short-sighted," he said firmly, "especially given what I witnessed just days ago." Sasha felt genuine warmth spreading through her at his sincere, validating response. "Thank you for saying that," she said softly, gratitude evident clearly in her measured voice. "It's meant more than you probably realize. Having someone actually recognize my capability rather than simply my appearance." As their conversation deepened further that evening, Dominic found himself genuinely captivated by Sasha's quiet resilience and the painful, unjust history she had clearly endured throughout her professional journey. Neither he nor Sasha yet realized clearly, however, just how significantly this growing, genuine connection would soon draw curious, and in some cases jealous, attention from within his own organization. Setting the stage for challenges neither of them had anticipated facing together. Sasha's military career had begun with genuine pride and purpose, graduating near the top of her combat medic training class before deploying overseas for her first tour. Determined to serve with the same dedication and skill she had demonstrated throughout her rigorous training. Her first deployment had proven her capability repeatedly, her calm precision under pressure earning genuine respect from the units she served alongside. During her second deployment, however, everything had changed entirely. Her unit had come under sudden, intense attack during what should have been a routine patrol, chaos erupting as injuries mounted rapidly among her fellow soldiers. Sasha had worked tirelessly, treating wounded soldiers under direct fire, her training and instincts guiding her through the terrifying chaos with remarkable composure. Despite her considerable efforts, one soldier under her care had succumbed to his injuries, a devastating loss that haunted her deeply despite every medical professional who reviewed the incident confirming she had done everything humanly possible given the severity of his wounds and the chaotic combat conditions surrounding them. The soldier's commanding officer, however, had sought someone to blame for the tragic loss, and rather than properly acknowledging the impossible circumstances, had filed a formal complaint questioning Sasha's competence during the crisis. The subsequent investigation had ultimately cleared her of any wrongdoing, confirming clearly that she had followed every proper medical protocol despite the overwhelming chaos of the attack. Yet the damage to her reputation within certain military circles had already taken root, whispers and doubt following her for the remainder of her service despite the official exoneration. When her enlistment concluded, Sasha had left the military with an honorable discharge, though the lingering shadow of that unfair complaint had followed her into civilian life, complicating her attempts to secure meaningful employment within the protection industry. She had applied to numerous private security firms, her considerable qualifications and combat experience seemingly perfect for high-risk protection work, only to face rejection after rejection. "We typically prefer male candidates for this kind of high-risk assignment," one interviewer had told her bluntly, entirely dismissing her extensive combat experience and specialized training. Clients tend to feel more confident with that kind of presence. Similar rejections had followed repeatedly, some firms citing her gender directly, others offering vague, unconvincing excuses that Sasha understood clearly masked the same underlying bias. She had grown increasingly frustrated and disheartened, questioning whether her considerable skill and dedication would ever be properly recognized within an industry seemingly determined to overlook her qualifications. Based entirely on assumptions about her capability, Dominic's willingness to hire her, and more importantly, his genuine respect for her, demonstrated skill following the assassination attempt, represented the first time in years that Sasha had felt her considerable expertise properly valued rather than dismissed or doubted. Before she had even the chance to prove herself, "I nearly gave up entirely," she admitted, honestly to Dominic during their continued conversation that evening, vulnerability entering her usually guarded tone. "After facing rejection after rejection, I began questioning whether I'd ever find genuine opportunity within this field. Regardless of my qualifications," Dominic studied her closely, genuine admiration and quiet anger mixing intensely within his composed expression. "Their loss proved to be my considerable gain," he said sincerely. "You've shown remarkable skill and dedication since joining my team. Sasha, that unfair rejection you faced says nothing about your genuine capability, and everything about their own short-sighted limitations." Sasha felt tears forming unexpectedly at his heartfelt, validating words. "Thank you for saying that," she whispered softly. "It means considerably more than you probably realize." Dominic took her hand gently, sincerity evident clearly in his warm expression. "I intend to ensure everyone within my organization recognizes your genuine value," he said firmly, regardless of whatever unfair doubts they initially carried. As their conversation deepened further that evening, Sasha found herself genuinely grateful for Dominic's consistent, genuine respect and validation, her carefully guarded walls gradually softening around his patient, sincere understanding. Neither she nor Dominic yet realized clearly, however, that her hard-won position within his organization and the growing personal connection now developing between them had already begun drawing dangerous, calculated attention from someone considerably closer to home than either of them anticipated. As Sasha's role within Dominic's organization continued expanding, her responsibilities gradually increasing to include oversight of certain security protocols alongside her direct protection duties. Most of his team had come to genuinely respect her considerable expertise. Rico, in particular, had become something of an ally, frequently deferring to her judgment on tactical matters and openly acknowledging his earlier misplaced skepticism. Not everyone within the organization, however, shared this evolving respect. Anthony Marchetti, a senior bodyguard who had served Dominic for nearly 8 years, watched Sasha's rapid rise within the organization with growing resentment, his own pride wounded considerably by what he perceived as her overshadowing his own considerable tenure and experience. "She's been here barely 2 months," Anthony muttered bitterly to another colleague one afternoon, watching Dominic consult Sasha regarding an upcoming security arrangement rather than following his usual practice of deferring to Anthony's considerable seniority. "Now suddenly she's advising on protocols I've been managing for years." His colleague shrugged, clearly unwilling to engage with Anthony's evident resentment. "She's good at what she does," he said simply. "Boss trusts her judgment." Anthony's jaw tightened at this dismissive response, his resentment only deepening further. Over the following weeks, his bitterness gradually transformed into something considerably more calculated. Small acts of quiet sabotage beginning to emerge within his interactions with Sasha, subtly undermining her authority whenever possible, without drawing direct attention to his own resentful motivations. He began questioning her decisions openly during team briefings, subtly implying inexperience despite her demonstrated competence, and on several occasions, deliberately withheld minor operational details that would have been helpful for her planning, hoping quietly that small failures might eventually diminish Dominic's evident confidence in her judgment. Sasha, though she noticed Anthony's growing hostility, chose initially to handle the situation professionally, addressing his concerns directly rather than escalating matters unnecessarily. "Anthony," she said carefully during one particularly tense briefing, "I understand you have considerable experience here. I genuinely value your input on this security arrangement rather than working around it." Anthony studied her with poorly concealed resentment. "I'm simply following the plan already established," he replied curtly, offering no genuine collaboration despite her clear attempt at professional courtesy. Dominic, present during this exchange, noticed the underlying tension immediately, though he chose to observe rather than intervene directly, curious to see how Sasha would navigate the workplace friction independently. Once the briefing concluded, he found himself approaching her privately. "Anthony's been giving you difficulty," he observed carefully, concern evident clearly beneath his measured tone. Sasha considered her response thoughtfully before answering honestly. "He's struggling with the changes I've introduced," she said diplomatically. "I'm hoping we can work through it professionally, given time." Dominic studied her closely, admiration evident clearly in his warm expression at her measured, professional handling of the situation. "You're remarkably patient," he observed sincerely, "considering everything you've already faced throughout your career, simply to earn the respect you've clearly demonstrated you deserve." Sasha offered a small, tired smile. "Patience has become something of a professional necessity," she admitted honestly, though genuine warmth was evident clearly beneath her measured words as she studied Dominic's sincere concern. Their growing personal connection, meanwhile, continued deepening steadily, despite Anthony's quiet interference. Dominic finding himself increasingly unable to deny his genuine feelings for Sasha's remarkable strength, intelligence, and quiet resilience. One evening, following another long day, managing both business matters and Anthony's continued subtle hostility, Dominic found Sasha alone in the estate's quiet garden. "I need to be honest about something," he said carefully, settling beside her on the garden bench. "These past several weeks, working alongside you, watching you navigate every challenge with such remarkable composure, I've developed genuine feelings for you. Sasha, feelings considerably beyond simple professional respect." Sasha studied him closely, her own heart racing at his sincere, unexpected admission. "I've felt the same way," she admitted softly, genuine warmth evident clearly in her measured voice, "though I've been hesitant to acknowledge it, given our professional arrangement." Dominic took her hand gently, sincerity clear in his gaze. "I understand that hesitation," he said honestly, "though I'd like the opportunity to explore what's genuinely developing between us, if you're willing." Sasha felt tears of happiness forming unexpectedly in her eyes. "I'd like that very much," she admitted honestly. As their genuine connection finally became mutually acknowledged, neither Sasha nor Dominic yet realized clearly that Anthony's quiet resentment had already begun evolving into something considerably more dangerous. His wounded pride and growing desperation, setting the stage for a betrayal that would soon threaten everything they had carefully built together. Anthony's resentment had festered considerably over the following weeks, his wounded pride compounding further upon learning of Dominic and Sasha's newly acknowledged relationship. Convinced entirely that Sasha's rapid rise within the organization stemmed from personal favoritism rather than genuine skill, His bitterness gradually curdled into something considerably more dangerous than simple professional jealousy. When Salvatore Greco, a long-time rival seeking any possible advantage against Dominic's organization, approached Anthony discreetly with an offer of considerable compensation in exchange for inside information regarding Dominic's security arrangements, Anthony's resentment made him considerably more receptive to betrayal than he might otherwise have been. "I simply need details regarding his usual security patterns," Salvatore explained smoothly during their clandestine meeting. "Nothing that would directly implicate you, merely information that would allow certain adjustments to be made discreetly." Anthony, blinded by his wounded pride and desperate desire to see Sasha's reputation diminished, agreed to the dangerous arrangement, providing Salvatore's men with detailed information regarding Dominic's typical security protocols. Including specific vulnerabilities Anthony understood clearly from his own considerable tenure within the organization. Armed with this dangerous inside information, Salvatore orchestrated a carefully coordinated assassination attempt, timing the assault for an upcoming business event where Dominic's security, according to Anthony's detailed information, would prove most vulnerable to a well-planned, multi-point attack. On the evening of the event, Sasha's trained instincts immediately registered something amiss the moment they arrived at the venue. Subtle inconsistencies in the security arrangements that shouldn't have existed, given her own careful advance planning. "Something's wrong," she said quietly to Dominic, scanning the surrounding area with sharp professional focus. "The security perimeter's been compromised somehow." Before Dominic could properly respond, chaos erupted suddenly as multiple armed assailants emerged from carefully planned positions throughout the venue. Clearly having anticipated exactly where Dominic's usual security coverage would prove weakest, Sasha reacted instantly, pushing Dominic protectively behind cover while simultaneously engaging the nearest threat with practiced, decisive precision. "Get him to the secure exit," she shouted urgently to Rico, who scrambled quickly to assist while Sasha held their position, using her combat training to neutralize the immediate danger surrounding them. Gunfire erupted chaotically throughout the venue as Dominic's remaining security team scrambled to respond to the unexpected, coordinated assault. Sasha fought with fierce, controlled precision, her medical training and combat experience combining seamlessly as she both engaged threats and quickly assessed injuries among Dominic's team, refusing to allow panic to compromise her critical thinking despite the overwhelming chaos surrounding them. Within minutes, though it felt considerably longer given the intensity of the confrontation, Dominic's forces successfully repelled the coordinated attack, several assailants captured while others fled the scene entirely. In the tense aftermath, as Dominic's security team worked to secure the venue and account for casualties, Sasha's sharp instincts led her directly toward uncovering the source of the security breach. Reviewing security footage carefully, she quickly identified inconsistencies pointing directly toward Anthony's involvement. His detailed knowledge of specific security vulnerabilities matching precisely with the attacker's calculated approach. "Anthony," she said grimly, presenting her findings directly to Dominic once the immediate crisis had passed. "The attackers knew exactly where our security would be weakest. That information could only have come from someone with intimate knowledge of our standard protocols." Dominic's expression hardened instantly, controlled fury evident clearly beneath his composed exterior as he processed this devastating betrayal from someone he had trusted for nearly 8 years. "Bring him to me immediately," he ordered firmly, his voice carrying unmistakable authority when confronted directly with the evidence Sasha had carefully gathered. Anthony's earlier defiant composure crumbled entirely, guilt and desperate justification spilling forth as he attempted weakly to explain his reckless betrayal. "She took everything I built here," he said bitterly, gesturing toward Sasha. "Years of loyal service, and suddenly she's the one you trust most." "You nearly got me killed out of wounded pride," Dominic replied coldly. his tone leaving absolutely no room for sympathy toward Anthony's misplaced resentment. Sasha earned her position through genuine skill and dedication. Your jealousy led you toward treason against this entire organization. Anthony, recognizing the complete collapse of his reckless betrayal, offered no further defense, understanding clearly the serious consequences awaiting him for his dishonorable actions. With Anthony's treachery fully exposed and Salvatore's coordinated attack thoroughly neutralized, the immediate danger finally completely passed. Sasha, exhausted but resolute following the intense confrontation, found herself studying Dominic closely once the chaos had fully settled. "Are you all right?" she asked, genuine concern evident clearly in her tired voice. Dominic took her hand gently, sincerity and profound gratitude evident clearly in his composed expression. "I'm alive because of you," he said honestly. "Your instincts, your skill, your fierce dedication. You saved my life tonight, Sasha, exactly as I suspected you would from the very first day." As the immediate danger fully resolved and Anthony's betrayal properly addressed, both Sasha and Dominic understood clearly that their bond had grown immeasurably stronger through this harrowing ordeal, setting the stage for a genuine, lasting future built entirely on hard-earned trust and authentic respect. In the days following the failed assassination attempt, Dominic moved decisively to ensure both Anthony's betrayal and Salvatore's coordinated attack faced appropriate, lasting consequences. Anthony's treachery, once fully exposed among the organization's other members, resulted in his complete removal from any position of trust, while Salvatore's reckless attempt to exploit inside information led to significant retaliation that thoroughly dismantled his own operations within the following weeks. With the immediate danger fully neutralized, word of Sasha's fierce, decisive protection during the crisis spread quickly throughout Dominic's entire organization. Any remaining doubt regarding her capability entirely erased by her demonstrated heroism. Rico, along with the rest of Dominic's security team, now regarded her with genuine, unreserved respect, several openly acknowledging that her skill had proven considerably more valuable than they had ever properly anticipated. "I owe you my life," Dominic said sincerely one evening, several days after the crisis had fully resolved. As they sat together in the estate's quiet garden, the same peaceful space where they had first acknowledged their genuine feelings for one another. Not simply from that night, though certainly that as well, but for everything you've brought into my life since joining this organization. Sasha studied him closely, warmth and genuine happiness evident clearly in her composed expression. "I've found something considerably more meaningful here than I expected when I first accepted this position," she admitted honestly. "Genuine respect, authentic partnership, and now something I never anticipated finding within this line of work at all." Dominic took her hand gently, sincerity clear in his warm gaze. "Sasha," he began softly, "these past months have shown me exactly what genuine strength, dedication, and love actually mean. I'd like the opportunity to build a real, lasting future with you, one grounded entirely in the respect and trust you've earned through everything you've overcome." Sasha felt tears of happiness forming gently in her eyes. "I'd like that very much," she said softly, genuine joy evident clearly in her warm voice. In the months that followed, Sasha's position as Dominic's most trusted protector became permanently secured. Her expertise now formally overseeing security training for his entire organization, ensuring the same rigorous, thorough standards she had always maintained personally. She found herself, for the first time since her difficult military discharge, genuinely respected and valued entirely for her considerable skill, rather than doubted because of assumptions about her capability. Rico, once her most vocal skeptic, had become one of her closest professional allies, often deferring openly to her judgment on tactical matters and acknowledging freely, whenever the topic arose, how thoroughly mistaken his initial doubt had proven to be. "Never judge a bodyguard by first impressions," he was fond of saying to newer recruits, a rueful, genuine smile evident whenever he shared the story of Sasha's remarkable first day. Dominic and Sasha's relationship continued flourishing steadily, their partnership grounded firmly in mutual respect, earned through genuine trial rather than simple assumption. A foundation considerably stronger than most relationships built purely on comfortable convenience. Sasha found herself, for the first time in years, genuinely at peace. Her painful history of rejection and doubt finally replaced by authentic belonging and lasting love. Reflecting quietly one peaceful evening, watching the sunset together from the estate's balcony, Sasha considered deeply the remarkable, unexpected journey that had led her from years of unfair rejection toward genuine respect, authentic partnership, and lasting happiness. What had begun with quiet laughter and dismissive doubt on her very first day ultimately transformed into something none of them had anticipated. Genuine respect earned through undeniable skill, authentic love built on hard-won trust, and definitive proof that true strength often reveals itself most clearly to those wise enough to look beyond first impressions and see the remarkable capability standing quietly before them all along.